Brought to you by Warhead's Chewy Cubes. They're mildly sour, wildly sweet.
¿Qué es lo que está pasando, chiquito?
Terrified, not to be confused with Terrifier, is a Shudder exclusive directed by Demian Rugna. I want to say that's right. It tells the story of... You know, I couldn't even really tell you. There's a haunted neighborhood and ghosts that simultaneously exist and don't exist based on your perspective. It's a weird, unconventional take on a traditional haunting story. So Terrified is a Shudder exclusive that I've been sleeping on for way too long, especially considering the amount of hype that was following it. People were hailing it as one of the best horror films of the year and an incredibly impressive horror debut. And now that I've seen it, I'm kinda baffled as to why. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot to appreciate here for sure. But I really don't understand the level of praise it was getting, especially considering I have no idea what this movie was going for. There's a lot in this movie that Rugna does really well. The overall cinematography and editing lends to this remarkably overarching, oppressive sense of claustrophobia and dread throughout the entire film. It's incredibly well shot, and there are some genuinely unnerving visuals. On top of that, this is a film that mostly relies on subtlety. And when it wants to show you something disturbing, it shows it to you in a way that you wouldn't really expect, and a way that really just tends to get under your skin and just really make you uneasy. And when this movie really wants to do horror, it does it really well. But that's the problem. I feel like over half of this movie isn't trying to be horror. There's just too much about it that's tonally bizarre, and I really can't tell if it's an intentional type of satire, or they just totally missed the mark and delved into a bunch of really tired tropes. And I just really don't know what this movie was going for, considering there are a ton of moments throughout this film that are really awkward or these really intentional comic beats. And there's so many of them, and they're so weird and out of place that I have to assume it was intentional. It sets up all these tense sequences, but then the payoff is either non-existent or this weird punch of comedy, or just something that ends up becoming comical because of really, really terrible CGI and this awkward frame cutting technique that they use multiple times. Like, you can tell they're trying to make these things look unnatural in their movement, but it just looks silly and ends up looking cheap more than it does unnatural. And on the subject of unintentional comedy, there's a moment where a character is getting his blood drunk by some kind of spirit or demon or whatever it is. And the sound effect they chose is this really hilarious, awkward, stock straw-sucking sound effect. It's just laughable, and anything that could have been scary there, with one poor choice of sound effect, ends up becoming hilarious. I wouldn't call Terrified a bad film. I mean, like I said, there is a lot to appreciate here. It does horror really well. And in a way, it kind of comes across as the Argentinian version of Insidious. What with the fact that it's a very unconventional take on a traditional haunting story, and the fact that it has a lot of blaring strings that come in anytime it's trying to scare you, it really does feel like a foreign take on Insidious in a way. There's some great disturbing imagery and a lot of really adventurous concepts, but those concepts are never really explored in a way that ever feels satisfying. It's just a bunch of non sequiturs haphazardly thrown together into what just kind of feels like a sequence of scenes that have no overarching story or theme and nothing really relating them aside from the fact that they take place in the same neighborhood. None of it ties together in any kind of satisfactory way, and because of that, I'm going to say that Terrified is meh. I'd still say to check it out, since there are plenty of people out there who really loved this movie. It just, for me, wasn't my cup of tea. If you have 90 minutes and you have Shudder and you want to check it out, I'm not going to say don't, because there is some cool stuff in this movie. Check it out. Let me know what you think. If you guys like it, really cool. I'm personally never going to watch it again, but I would love to hear from some people who do like it, and they can maybe explain to me why. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, click down there, like, comment, subscribe. I've got a Patreon link down in that description now. If you want to support this channel and help it grow and develop and help me put out new and better content for you all to enjoy, please consider donating, guys. Even $1 helps. It would really, really be appreciated. I'd be able to update some technology. It'll be great. But even if you don't, thank you so, so much for watching, guys. I really, really appreciate it, and I will see you all very soon.
No tiene que tener sangre en las manos, no en este lugar. A estos seres les gusta la sangre.